19th, 2021. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Well, Dumpty Dum Dum, you did my Dumpty Dum Dum. I'm upset with you. I am not happy.
Well, we have to coordinate this. We have to dum dum, as a group.
No, no, you do Long Kazoo, I do Dumpty Dum Dum Dum.
Okay, we'll just
And
do
but
an encore.
Dum Dum Dum
Yeah, we'll
Dum.
work on that. So it is yet another week. How is the world treating you, Jerry?
It's hard to complain.
Well, Florida, Georgia, and I forget the third state are the only states that do not have snow in them right now.
Really.
Yes.
It's hard to believe we don't have snow here considering it's 85 degrees outside right now.
Well, I considered going outside, but there are people out there, so I didn't. I'm getting used to this life as a shut-in.
Is it a change? I mean, it's not really a change for me.
Well, there's sort of a difference. Before this, I chose not to go out, and now I sort of feel like I don't want to go out. Also, occasionally I had to go out when I didn't want to.
you know, those sound largely like the same thing.
Well, I'll give it an example. So last year I had to commute somewhere, so I had to leave and go somewhere, work there, and then come home at the end of the day. Now my commute is substantially shorter.
You still get a parking allowance?
You got a parking allowance? No one's ever given me a parking allowance. They must like you.
Well, I think, yeah, by and large, they do.
I don't think they dislike me, but my boss, who has since retired at the end of last year, was not necessarily a big spender.
Well,
He was very pleased with me when he sent me abroad, and I held the record for the smallest reimbursement bill for 3 weeks out of the office of anybody.
good job.
Well, I put a lot of things on there that were that I thought were luxuries. I had the company buy me an umbrella. And I bought everything I wanted, and my bill still came in at about a fourth of what he thought it was going to be. But I don't necessarily blame that on anything other than that was when I went to the Philippines, and the costs aren't that much down there. I don't think it was so much. It was, yes, it was me not gratuitously spending money, but it was also that. Anyway, so I'm trying to think of anything Androidy that happened in the last week. My mother decided that she wanted a new phone, so I've spent some time setting up her new one.
And what kind of phone did you get her?
Well, she had a Moto G7 Power with a cracked screen that she's been using for a
Right.
while since she stepped on it.
That'll do it.
Not the first time, but fortunately, this was just a mild crack. The last time she stepped on her phone, it was a serious crack. But I don't know how she keeps doing that. But I got her the Moto G Power 2021, so the exact model of phone she had, the latest version, which is a little different, but she likes the Moto G line. And then I get to call Verizon because she wasn't receiving text messages, even though I moved the SIM card over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had a lovely talk with Verizon. I do not like talking to any customer service line. They have one of those automated troubleshooting bots.
Yep.
I don't like those things. I understand the purpose of them, but when you tell them what your problem is, it's, if you have your problem is that you aren't receiving text messages. Okay, well, what you want to do is you want to troubleshoot using this app, and what we're going to do is we're going to text you a link to the app. By the way, this is the automated system explaining this to me, that they were going to text me a link to the app so that I could troubleshoot the problem of not receiving texts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is why humans can be important, because it makes sense how the computer doesn't make the connection between being unable to receive the text and sending a text not doing any good.
Yeah.
Whereas a human would catch on to that quickly.
I work with humans. Trust me, not all of them would. I can tell you stories. But
the humans I work with are intelligent.
I envy that. I'm not going to say I don't work with some intelligent people. I'm just saying that's not 100% of the staff. But, well, either way. So, simply speaking, I have no problem with talking to an automated system, but I sort of like it for simpler things. When they try to have it do complex troubleshooting, it doesn't work out. I have no problem. I've called the cable company and it's, would you like us to send a reset signal to your box? Yes, I would. Okay, I don't need to talk to a human. You just sent what I wanted. But, yeah. So the human took 45 minutes to figure out the problem. But he also tried to sell me things. I didn't know the tech support people tried to sell you things now.
I'm sure that every person is there to extract more money from you. It's how they pay each other's salaries.
No, I know, but usually the tech people and the sales people are usually separate in most providers in my experience. But either way, they proactively told me that they could save me $10 a month on the bill for being a loyal customer, since my parents have been a customer of Verizon Wireless since it was Bell Atlantic Mobile. So someone offered me $10 off of their bill monthly with no other problems. Oh, and 6 free months of Disney Plus, so why not? I think they're hoping I'm not going to remember to cancel the Disney Plus subscription. But that's what calendars are for. Anyway, so she gets to enjoy her phone. I am enjoying my Pixel 5. My father's happy with his phone. He's not changing anytime soon. So there's happiness in the Android household.
Good.
Yeah. And I had some time, so I also introduced my mother on her new phone to her new favorite game.
What's that?
I bought her a copy of the online Android version of Ticket to Ride. The game that she has been enjoying in person. So my parents like to play board games. That is the latest board game we've been playing. And I figured that I would get her the online version because she clearly needs the practice, because she has won 3 times since the beginning of the year.
Well, if you've only played 3 times, that's pretty good.
She wants to play every night. I think she will continue to play until she feels she's good. She thinks she isn't very good. So I figured I would buy her the online version and she can play with the entirety of the internet.
Cool.
Yeah. Tonight was Ticket to Ride Nordic countries. There's a whole set. You got to collect them all. But anyway. That said, moving along, there was an interesting article on how to record phone calls on Android, which sort of led me to the question, Jerry, have you ever actually tried to record a phone call on Android?
I've tried. I've never been successful at it. And according to this article, considering that I own one of Google's Pixel devices, I'm just out of luck.
Me too.
However, if you own a Samsung phone, it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Also, I just noticed that Daryl has joined us, and I have tried to adjust the sound level because I know he was having trouble last week. But he wanted to comment that with T-Mobile, you just need to relentlessly pound zero and eventually a foreigner answers.
That's funny.
See, I'm not offended by outsourcing. Admittedly, there are other problems with it. I'm offended by when somebody doesn't know how to do their job. Admittedly, there are other reasons why I might care where that person is. But if they are qualified and they know what they are doing, does it really matter what country they are in? To me personally. So my problem is with people not knowing what they're doing. They could be in Georgia. Or they could be in the other Georgia.
As long as I get a successful outcome from my call, I'm happy.
Yeah, and if you call Disney Plus, I think they're in Bulgaria.
Considering Disney fired Gina, I am unlikely to subscribe to Disney Plus.
That's the Mandalorian scandal?
Yep.
Okay. My brother keeps telling me I should watch that, but I was never a big Star Wars fan, so I haven't gotten to it.
If you do watch it, pirate it so you don't give them money.
I want to give them money. I'm a shareholder. Different reason, but I am a Disney shareholder. I got 7 shares of Disney when I turned 13 as a gift.
Cool.
I haven't bought any more, but I might as well do something with them. Anyway, that aside, I heard a rumor that Disney Plus was in the same building I was working out of when I was over there, because they were just gearing up at the time. But I have been watching Disney Plus. I've been watching that new Marvel show, WandaVision. Well, I was behind on my Marvel Universe watching. I had not seen.
My wife and I have not yet watched the Avengers movie with Vision, or Age of Ultron, or something like that.
Well, let's put it this way. I have some free time lately. So I decided that I would just go and watch all of the Marvel movies that I didn't watch, which was pretty much most of them. So I am now, with the exception of the Spider-Man movies, I am now up to date on the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's quite an achievement.
Well, I needed a break from Stargate. After watching 8 seasons of it, I figure eventually I will finish my rewatching of it, but I needed something a little different. I don't watch action movies that often lately.
So you didn't go to Atlantis, or?
Oh no, I did go to Atlantis, but once they started switching over from the ancient Egyptian bad guys to the semi-Christian like religious missionary type bad guys, I don't know if that's a good way to describe it.
They represent the devil. The fire, and that's...
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying that it was very, let's just say, biblical in its approach.
The entire show is biblical. It's a bunch of atheists that go around the country killing gods.
That's an interesting point of view, isn't it? I never thought of it that way. But see, I don't know, because I always thought the Egyptians weren't polytheistic. I always thought they were monolitristic.
They only used one latrine?
No, that would be the concept that there is still one divine being, but multiple aspects. That would be a monolitristic as opposed to polytheistic, where there would be multiple divine beings.
I don't know.
Admittedly, comparative religion was never my area of expertise. I just didn't find what was it, the Ori, as compelling a bad guy.
No? Okay, so the Ori are not a good enemy. But, what's her name? Vala's daughter.
It's probably been since the last time I saw the show, so...
Oh, she's a good bad guy.
Okay, well, I'll have to rewatch it. As I said, I will eventually get back to finishing up that run. But the problem was when I looked at the order in which you would watch Stargate, the Atlantis episodes, starting with the 8th season, overlap timeline-wise with the Stargate episode.
Yeah.
So I was trying to alternate between watching one and watching the other, and that's what sort of overloaded me a bit.
Yeah, You can pretty much watch them independently. They don't really depend on each other.
Yeah,
There are very few real crossovers.
I know, but I was trying to sort of keep the timeline going. But either way,
You will be, of course, forgiven for not watching Stargate Universe.
in the interest of completeness, I might have to. But as I said, I took a break and watched the entirety of the Marvel series. Someday somebody will explain to me why people love Thor so much. He got a lot of movies. I didn't find him that compelling a character.
Have you watched Stargate Origins?
Yes, I started with that because I had never seen it when it was a web series.
That's like an hour of your time, right?
Yeah, well, it was like 10-minute intervals. But anyway, maybe we should start a pop culture show. Although both of our tastes in pop culture are a little off center. I'm not sure if we're pop enough for pop culture conversations.
I'm not. No.
Yeah, neither am I. Somebody asked me what my favorite movie was the other day, and I gave them like a 4-part answer. And they said, I have not heard of any of the things you just mentioned. Anyway, things aside, moving back to here, Gmail is apparently getting smarter about searching for email aliases. So it will connect various email aliases to realize that that is the same person. So when you search for one alias of a person, you would get all of their email. Unless you apparently put their email address in quotes.
I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I guess it's useful, but also creepy.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you put 2 email addresses for the same individual in your contact list, would you expect Google to know that that was the same person, and when you search for that person, show you both?
I guess. But then I'm searching for the person, not for the email address.
Yeah. Well, again, it's trying to connect things up. I'm not going to say every idea that Google has is a good one. Clearly, they have some really bad ones. But I'm saying I understand what they're trying to do here. They're trying to compensate for the fact that people have multiple email addresses. And you may be looking for Bob, but you may have Bob's work address and Bob's personal
I guess
address.
that's useful when people change their email addresses.
Well, even if they have multiple ones. For example, I have a work email address and a personal email address. I'm sure that when people are looking for you professionally, they are not looking at your Jerry Jones email address. Or are they?
I don't know.
No, I'm saying when somebody is looking for you from your work, you have, I assume, some sort of work email.
I do.
Yeah. So people often keep their professional and personal lives separate.
But there's not a single person on the planet who has received an email from both my personal email and my professional email.
Probably the same in my case. I do try to keep them separate. Even when I want to email somebody, and if I have something in my personal account that I want to email to somebody who I communicate with work, I forward it to my work account, remove the personal email address, and then forward it again.
Yep. Professional me is not personal me.
Yeah. Although people can't tell the difference because they seem to think because now that I work in the same space as I live, that suddenly I'm working all the time.
Yep.
Boundaries. Anyway, moving along. Let's see. Android Auto has added wallpapers.
Ooh.
And assistant shortcuts.
Ooh. The assistant shortcuts are cool.
Yeah, I sort of like wallpaper, not because I'm going to use it, but I like the idea of customization. Simple things are very helpful. And assistant shortcuts are nice because that's something that you recognize people will want. The only other thing that annoys me about Assistant in my automobile with Android Auto is every so often it gets set off and I can't figure out what causes it to think I said it, the wake word.
Right.
But that happens with all of those systems. They just hear something and misinterpret it. If you like Tasker, they've added native JSON HTML reading.
Ooh.
I'm excited about this if I go back to the one thing that I've ever used Tasker for. You've heard me talk about it, the incredibly geeky
I
thing.
have.
Yeah, I have to find something else that's that obscure to use Tasker for. Because, I don't know, I could come up with some interesting automations, but I haven't necessarily needed anything but that. If you like YouTube, but you do not like the YouTube app, the latest NewPipe update brought YouTube chapter support, among other things.
Wow.
Have you ever used NewPipe?
I haven't, but interesting.
I used it in one interesting place. Last year during the pandemic, when I was stuck at home, I acquired a treadmill that had instead of a traditional screen, the screen that turned the motor up and down was actually a little tablet. So it could run like a very simple workout app, but not much else.
Mm-hmm.
I found out that if you do one of those like special codes on it, you could back out to the Android OS without a Play Store. So I side-loaded the F-Droid store on it and put NewPipe on it.
So F-Pipe or NewPipe is not available in the Google store, is what you're saying?
It is not a Google app. It is, in fact, not relying on any Google stuff. But to be honest, the F-Droid repository has some good stuff.
Does it now?
Yes, I'm a big believer in open source software, and everything there is open source. Little slow in the games category, but I'm not much of a game player. Although I am considering, if I'm going to continue playing the same board game over and over again with my parents, that maybe I should start a Twitch channel.
That'd be cool.
I don't know. Do people watch people play the same board game over and over again? I don't really watch gameplay on Twitch either.
They watch them play the same video game over and over, but that's a lot more eye candy. So,
well, are you telling me that somebody would not want the adrenaline rush of watching me get a 9-space train and gaining 27 points for building from Liksa to Murmansk? I'm making it sound more exciting than it is.
Okay. You didn't make it sound very exciting.
That was my point.
Points for effort, but
I just came up with with what sounded like the least exciting example I could think of. Although it is really hard to get a 9-space train in that game. Moving along, Google Maps has made it easier to pay for parking. Also a good thing, if you are navigating using maps when you park, you can actually tell it to pay for you.
No.
Why not?
That's crazy talk.
Well, I'm not sure that I necessarily need Google Maps to do my paying for me, but I could see the convenience of this. Also, it seems to have partnered with Park Mobile.
Ah.
And I think I don't know if they use their app or if you do it within the Google app directly. Because it says, transit, you would be able to pay for your fare without having to switch. And you pay for fares linked to your Google Pay account. However, I tried to use the Park Mobile app once, and I found it very not user-friendly. So I'd be perfectly happy to let Google handle it for me, because they are usually a lot more user-friendly. At least in their applications.
Huh.
No.
As long as it works.
Yeah, no, when you get to humans at Google, that's hit or miss. But
if you can get to humans.
Yeah, and that's been Google's weakness for years that everybody knows about. But, yeah. By the way, Daryl has commented that apparently Will Wheaton has his own board game YouTube channel. And that he watches people play board games. So, is that the next spin-off of Android Buffet? Where I take a camera and aim it down at a board game?
Sure, why not? Give it a shot.
Well, maybe when I go
famous.
Maybe when I go back to New York and I have the cameras. I didn't bring them with me. You remember Wallcam?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think I needed Wallcam here. Moving along, there's an update on GReader, which, if you remember, I mentioned last week had been relaunched, but apparently there were some issues with the quality. People were upset about the subscription model, which I understand. No matter what happens, people are always upset about subscription models.
Well, they're upset when they had something for free and now it's no longer free.
Yeah, and this includes people who had paid. Now, the developer apparently has done a few things to sort of explain
If you
themselves.
had paid for it, my understanding is you get a year subscription.
Yeah, but the developer didn't tell anybody that. It would have been, again, people sometimes handle things poorly. Had the developer, sort of put out some sort of notice about what they were up to,
Well,
instead of waiting for people to get upset and then apologizing, that would, again, that,
developers are often programmers,
yeah,
and programmers are
Aren't-
not normally people.
no, I understand that. And,
I mean,
it does vary.
I say that as a programmer who is not
Yeah.
a people person.
Yeah, so the developer who, remember, I mentioned to you that I bought their News Plus app years ago. Same developer. Nanyan, I think is the name. I don't know the actual person's legal name. But, so, one, they've now announced to people that they will be giving them a year subscription to anybody who bought the Pro app years ago, so I think that's fair. And two, apparently, there is a problem with the ads. So there's nothing new about the ads. It's apparently still using AdMob, which is a standard ad provider. But apparently the developer is looking for why the ads are not friendly. So again,
Are they unfriendly ads?
well, I think the idea was that
Or are
the
they
ads
intrusive ads?
they were obtrusive, essentially taking over the screen, doing things that were not conducive to the experience.
Ah.
So the developers claim that he did not change anything, and is trying to figure out exactly what's going on, so he might be able to change whatever settings AdMob has for him. And that is possible that if you didn't update your app for years, that AdMob gave you like the most, the highest setting because you didn't turn it down. But after several years of no development, it may be that it will take the developer some time to actually get back into
Iron
this.
out the kinks?
Well, more, things do change. If his statement is that it's the same configuration that he used 5 years ago, were ads the same 5 years ago, his settings might have expired and they might have just given him the defaults.
It could happen.
Well, I'm just thinking. I give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. So you remember last week I talked about somebody who placed a Wall Street Journal ad?
Yeah. I love this story.
Yeah, so Ars Technica followed up on the gentleman who is 90 years old, who apparently got his fiber.
They knocked on his AT&T knocked on his door the very next day.
Yeah, so this is 90-year-old Aaron Epstein, who apparently, again, spent a lot of money, and his ad, as well as stories on it, were reported on by reporters. It apparently made an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Networks interviewed him for news broadcasts. So essentially, whether you could say that anybody at AT&T read the ad, clearly he knew that other people would read the ad and embarrass AT&T. Or maybe he didn't know that, but it still worked. So apparently they called him. They knocked on the door the next day to tell him they were installing fiber. And they finished the installation. He's now paying $45 a month for the first 12 months and then $65. Apparently they had to install extra wiring, and it's costing them thousands and thousands of dollars to put in this wiring just for their house because their neighbors do not have it, and they still have to go through considerable expense to hook up all of the neighbors. Even better. See, this is where we get to the fun part of this article. AT&T, when asked, didn't provide an answer of whether it would hook up all of his neighbors, but gave us a statement claiming that it planned to upgrade Epstein's house and the others nearby all along.
Yeah. It's just a coincidence. It was the day after it ran. And
Yeah.
I find it hilarious that they hooked up his house, but it's not available to any of his neighbors.
Yeah, and again, apparently the CEO of AT&T called him personally and told him that he saw the ad in a packet of press clippings given to him by staff. And apparently he gave Mr. Epstein a different answer than Ars Technica got from the AT&T PR team, that the rest of his neighborhood will get fiber within 12 months. By contrast, again, AT&T told Ars Technica that they have completed the expansion. And then apparently there was a third update where the spokesman circled back to Ars Technica admitting that the fiber installations had not been completed. When they told them that they had completed it, they said that what's completed is being fiber to the neighborhood, not to the rest of the homes. So essentially, we have a wire in the neighborhood, but not at anybody's house, except the one guy who
Well,
complained.
I mean, to be fair to them, it's not like they ran fiber, 15 miles to that one house on a dime. They had been putting in fiber to the neighborhood already. They just prioritized the last mile line to him.
Yeah, which...
So the story that they were planning on upgrading the neighborhood is probably true.
Yeah, but they might not have done it for 2 or 3 years.
That's true. That's also
Yeah.
true.
Again, planning on upgrading the neighborhood, I plan on doing a lot of things that I don't necessarily get to so fast. For example, I plan on visiting Jacksonville, Florida. I'll get there someday.
Don't tease me.
Yes, and just to comment from Daryl, sure, AT&T, and FDR was planning on joining the European War before Pearl Harbor.
Was he?
Possibly. He was definitely looking for a reason to get involved, but not necessarily on the Japan side. I think he was more looking to get involved on the German side. But anyway, history is a little vague. FDR, for all of the interesting things that he did a bunch of things that I definitely would disapprove of. Someday we'll talk about the Supreme Court and the regulation of chickens, but that's another day.
Or pineapple chunks.
Well, no, there's a very famous court case that happened as part of New Deal legislation that involves chicken regulations. The Schechter case. Anyway, Roku is apparently testing a rechargeable remote with hands-free voice and a lost remote finder. And what they're going to... Yeah.
Here's the part that bugs me. Completely scans over the actual important innovation.
What is the important innovation?
Customizable buttons. You know those 4 buttons on the bottom of a Roku that, depending on where you bought the Roku, means the 4 buttons do different things?
The ones that annoy me?
And they're absolutely uncustomizable. They are what they're set to, and you can't change them.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, on this remote, you can change them, which is just friggin' awesome.
No, if you've noticed, it features 2 customizable buttons in addition to the 4 pre-programmed ones that you can't change.
I didn't see the 4.
Now, this is apparently a limited time thing where they're doing a limited run and they may expand in the future.
I heard they were only selling 2,000 of them.
Yeah, well, they may sell more, but they're only agreeing that they're going to do this limited run. I suppose if it's successful, they might do something else.
Could be.
But again, you might be able to get a third-party remote also. There's nothing proprietary about the Roku remote, although
right. All the third-party Roku remotes
are IR only. They're not Wi-Fi.
Right.
Well, again, you never know. One of my favorite features that somebody came up with in Home Assistant is the emulated Roku, where Home Assistant pretends to be a Roku so that you could have something like a Logitech actually do something in Home Assistant.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very useful feature. And it is one of my favorite little innovations that they came up with. And Daryl has his own solution. His LG V20 is rechargeable and controls his Roku.
Ooh.
Well, I thought about doing that. I have like an old phone, and I thought about using it as a remote control. But I didn't. So, there's something to be said for physical buttons. I don't know about you, but
I agree.
LastPass has reduced its free offering. So, Jerry, I believe you're still a LastPass user, or did you change?
No, I love my LastPass.
So right now, if you are a free user, then you will still get something free, but you'll have a choice. You can use it for free on your computer, or you can use it for free on your mobile device, but not both. So I can understand why they would be doing this. Again, you can't give everything away for free, but they're saying you can use it on pretty much one thing. In this case, multiple things, because they are saying that you can't use it. If you pay us, you can do desktop and mobile, but if you don't pay us, you can do a bunch of desktops or a bunch of mobiles, but not both. So they know that people are probably using a mobile device and a desktop computer, and that's where they're saying that's their premium upgrade now.
Whatever.
So I was already a premium subscriber, so I did not get their discount for upgrading, but I made a different decision. I decided to upgrade to LastPass for families.
Ooh.
Yes, I made this decision after trying to reload my mother's phone and getting annoyed at how she does passwords. Namely, she does reuse the same password on several sites, and I'd like her to stop that.
Yes, good idea.
Yeah, so I'm going to pay for her LastPass subscription. Not only that, it means that we can share passwords, since I have been known to borrow her HBO Max subscription. Borrowing it to set up on a Roku that my father watches. So, anyway, moving along. Apparently Chromebooks have overtaken MacBooks in popularity in 2020.
This boggles my mind. How is this possible?
I actually like Chromebooks. You know, they're not perfect, but I do like a good Chromebook. So the worldwide market share, it's a simple computer. A lot of people do not need a full computer. They need something that can run a web browser, and that's what they think the internet experience is. So why not buy a Chromebook?
I don't know. I don't know why not buy Chromebook. Apparently, buy Chromebook.
Yep. So I just bought a Chromebox. Admittedly, it will no longer receive any security updates, which means maybe I should wipe it and put some other OS on. But I bought like a cheap old one because a kiosk computer can come in handy.
That's true.
Moving along, in one final story, Amazon will not build an Echo Cuckoo clock unless it hits a pre-order goal.
It's so cute. And I like the sticky note printer too. Okay, so the story behind this story is that they designed some products, but they're not going to produce them unless enough people pre-order them. And when enough people pre-order them, they'll put them into production.
Yeah,
and the people who pre-ordered will be the first people to get them. And they're starting with a digital scale for the kitchen, which ties into apps.
Yeah.
A thermal sticky note printer, like, Post-it notes.
Yeah.
And a cuckoo clock that will interface with the Alice person, and the numbers on the clock, they're like LED lit, so it can show you the time and how much time is left if you set a timer or something. And it's kind of cute. It's got a little,
Well, no, I think it's cute. I just couldn't see myself paying for a connected cuckoo clock. Now, the sticky note printer I could see myself paying for if it was not locked down. If I could just send things to it, I don't really need to have my sticky note printer commands done by a voice command.
Right.
So if I could have something where I could essentially send sticky notes and stick them up somewhere, that might be useful to me.
But would you pay $90 for it?
No, that's why I said I would not. But
and the cuckoo clock is how much? 70?
80.
$80.
And the scale is $35.99.
But apparently the print timer is really popular. It's 80% of its goal already.
Well, there's a market for everything. I'm sure they did a little research. I'm sure they determined that this was not a product that they thought that they could just take a risk on. But We'll see.
We shall. And that brings us to the end.
Remember, every end is just a new beginning. So
So I put up some lights today.
Yeah.
So we've been living in this house for about 2 years now, and the foyer, the dining room, and the living room still have boob lights, or did have boob lights. So over the weekend, I bought some chandeliers or lights last week, and had an electrician put them in over the weekend, because they're like, except for the dining room, they're like 25-foot ceilings. And we kept these are the chandeliers that have the strings that have like balls and stuff on them. So you have to, after the lights are in, you have to hang up the string and the bulb and the little shiny balls. So we did the living room or the dining room one tonight. Oh my god, that sucked. And it's the tiny one.
I'm sorry.
So my recommendation is they make for really pretty lights, but they're a lot of work. So, you know, they're reasonably priced for their size, chandelier wise, but just realize you're getting into a ton of work.
No, I understand. I've been waiting for a sale on a ceiling fan.
Yep.
And they just had a sale on a cheap ceiling fan, and now the only downside is I have to put up a ceiling fan, and I've put up ceiling fans. I hate putting up ceiling fans.
Really?
Pain in the neck. No, you have to take off the old ceiling fan, which is not that hard, but then you have to like put this bracket up, and then you have to put the ceiling fan into this area with a hook while you tie in all the wiring, and then you have to try to push it up and then twist it.
Yep.
Again, it isn't urgent. I'm just going to leave it for now, but I'll get to it at some point. Maybe next year.
Maybe. Long time between now and next year.
Yeah, well, remember, I'm scheduled to leave in less than a month.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, that does bring me to one bit of clerical notice. I've realized that I may have a conflict. I've been scheduled for an 8 p.m. Megillah reading next week.
What?
Okay, what's the simplest way to explain this? So, next Thursday is Purim, which is a Jewish holiday. Traditionally on Purim, I would go to hear the reading of the Megillah. However, I'm not going anywhere, so they are doing online Megillah readings. So there's a limited number of people that you can have in each Megillah reading, because there's a debate about whether or not a Megillah reading conducted over Zoom actually fulfills a religious obligation. There's some debate over this.
Okay.
So they've put, in order to partially compensate for that, they've put a limit on the number of people who can be in each session, and I ended up with the 8 p.m. session. I was trying for the 7 p.m. So
Does that mean we need to push it back?
Would you be available to push this back for 1 week only to 10 p.m.?
Sure.
Okay, I will change the schedule.
Thank you. What day is that?
This is Thursday, the 25th.
25th. Okay.
Yes. But, there's a lot to unpack in the Purim story. So I want to make sure that I hear every single, interesting word.
Okay.
Yeah, they read so fast that it's hard to read the commentary. Anyway, that's why I will probably be done in a little over an hour. So I may even be available at 9, but I don't want to rush it.
I understand. Yep. Why don't we just go ahead and plan on 10?
Yep.
And
I will be here.
And I will be here too, I hope.
Okay. Other than that, I don't think anything else is going on that is extremely exciting. One of my weather stations remains down, which is really disappointing. So I'm waiting for somebody to brave the snow and go over there and press the button to restart it, because apparently there's a power outage. Clearly I have to do something better than that battery backup, because it must have exceeded the amount of battery it had. But you can't have everything, right?
not without paying a whole lot of money.
Well, at the very least, I thought that the computers had a setting where you could have it restore AC power in the event of a power outage, and I thought I set it, but apparently I didn't, or it didn't work. I'll figure it out.
I'm sure you will. And with that,
We will
it's time
talk.
to bid adieu
We will talk next week.
next week. Bye, folks. Bye, Daryl.